The story I have for you today is pretty powerful, actually. And I hope you'll take it to heart because there are going to be a lot of people in your life that tell you, don't do that. Don't live. Don't have fun. Stay safe. Now, I want you to stay safe, but I also want you to have fun. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So here we go. Way, way, way back when I was only 19 years old, I wanted to move to Southern California. Well, I had wanted to move to Southern California for, probably about 12 years at that point, because I think it was right around age 7 or so when I decided I was going to do that. I was in Detroit, Michigan, and that is a very flat, very, I don't know, it's an interesting place. I'm a singer, so, it's got some soul to it, but it wasn't for me. I wanted to move to Southern California. I wanted to be a big, famous singer, and I was going to move there. So when I was 19 years old, I decided that I was going to do it. I thought, it's either now or never. What am I waiting for? I told my family, and boy, the responses I got. My mother got very dramatic. Go and live the life I never lived. I was like, oh, goodness gracious. I'm just going to live the life I'm going to live. Thank you, but okay. And then my grandmother, she was a fantastic woman. Fantastic. But she told me, she goes, oh, don't go, because if you go, California is going to fall off and break off into the ocean with one of the earthquakes. They've said that that's going to happen. You're going to drown and die. I'm like, oh my God. Then she says, yeah, don't go. It's too dangerous. We don't want you to go. What was that about? My grandmother was a very loving person. She was a fantastic lady, but there was something going on there. What was it? You see, people will tell you things when they are afraid, they have anxiety about what you're going to do, or they want to control you. And it could be any or all of those things and more. So be very, very, very careful when you listen to advice from people, right? If you listen to what they have to say, which you should always listen to what people have to say, and then evaluate it for yourself, because a lot of it's going to be junk, but you might find some great nuggets in there. So evaluate and take the good stuff and file away the other stuff in a junk pile. You might file a nugget in there sometimes. You might want to go back through and look once in a while. But when you evaluate, do it from a place of knowledge and understanding. Do it from a place where you're making your decisions for yourself. How did I handle what my grandmother said? I had heard a story. I don't know if I read it or if it was on TV or where I had found this out, but somehow I found out that people died annually from garage doors falling on them. Their own garage doors. I'm like, what the heck? Like, you could just be walking outside, your garage door falls on you, and boom, you're done. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. So I always would tell people, live your life. It's better to have lived one day than to have not have lived at all, right? And by that I mean to have done something with your life and had some fun and had some adventure. No, I'm not recommending being reckless. That's not what I'm doing here. Always mitigate risk. But I mean, for goodness sake, if you can walk outside and your garage door can fall on you, think about that, right? Earthquakes can happen. The house could fall. There's so much out there that's risky. If you worry about that constantly, you're going to be a nervous wreck, for goodness sakes. You're never going to do anything. So I told my grandmother, I said, oh, grandmother, I heard that garage doors fall on people every year and kill them. I said, you've got a garage door. I could just be walking out one day and Lord have mercy, there I go. I said, so I'm going to live my life. And she's like, oh, you're going to go? I'm like, yes, I'm going to go. So she pretty much kept trying to, change my mind, but she knew I was going to go. So I did. I moved to Southern California anyways. I packed up everything that would fit in my car, sold the rest, even the horse that I had. And I got in that car with regular maps because we did not have GPS back then. I am older. Should I say old? We'll go with older, okay? But anyways, the bottom line is we didn't have GPS. It was just me and my houseplant sitting next to me on my passenger seat on top of the little TV that I had. And those TVs were like square boxes. So the plant sat right on top. And I was talking to the plant half the way there because you couldn't even find a good radio station on the way because you didn't know when you were going through the different towns what they were going to be. So anyways, it was an adventure. Oh my goodness gracious. I recommend adventures regularly. Take them. But there was no way I was going to not move to Southern California. So off I went. Whoop. And I just had a bunch of maps. I think I had like 3 because I went through all of the states on the way, obviously. So AAA had to use a magic marker and map it out for me, and I had to figure out where I was going. And at the end, the last map had an arrow into LA, and that was it. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have anything. At that point, I had just taken a vacation to LA about a month and 3 days before I left, and I had decided that I was going to move, and that's it. I just knew I was going to, and there I went. I did have a job lined up, so again, I did mitigate some of the risk, but I knew that I was going to have an adventure nonetheless. I stopped along the way. I ate at this place in Texas that had, steaks the size of small children. It was crazy. And they're like, if you eat this whole thing, you get it for free. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to have a regular dinner, thanks. But you'd watch these people try and eat these whole steaks and you're like, oh my God. You meet people along the way. You have these adventures. I mean, it was a lot of fun.